Welcome everyone. A webcast of this meeting will be published to Council's website at www.liverpoolplains.newsouthwales.gov.au so that it is available for viewing by members of the public. Acknowledgement of country and Council Prayer. Councillor Kingston.
Acknowledgement of country. Today we gather on the land of the Kimura Nation. We therefore need to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land. We also pay our respects to the Aboriginal elders, both past and present, and further extend that respect to other adults who have joined us today. Council prayer. Lord, we ask that you watch over this council, guide us in our deliberations and decisions for the betterment of all the people of our Shire and Australia.
Thanks, Councillor Cudmore. Apologies and applications for leave. Recommendation that leave of absence from Councillor Terry Cohen be received and accepted. Do I have a mover?
I move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Moore, second. Councillor Wynne. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 3, confirmation of minutes. 3.1, minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of October 2023. The recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of October 2023 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Allen, seconded. Councillor Wynne. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Voted. Item 4, disclosures of interests. Any disclosures of interest?
Yes.
Councillor Allen?
Item 613. Yep. I'm not a pecuniary interest.
Thank you. Item 5.1.
Sorry, just a clarification, Councillor Allen, given it's a pecuniary interest, will you be leaving the chamber?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks to you.
Sorry.
Item 5.1, mayoral minute. I would like to move that mayoral minute. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cudmore. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? Councillor Moles?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I was just wondering if you might be able to give us an update on the meeting on the 23rd of the 10th, 23 with the Namoi Unlimited. Last time we spoke about this, there was talks about there was no funding for this group and whether it was still going to continue on. So I'm just wondering what that extraordinary meeting was about and if you could update me, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Moles. Yes, the meeting with the Namoi Unlimited was set for that date. Unfortunately, there wasn't any word from the state government. They therefore set the meeting for tomorrow afternoon to discuss whether it remains or whether we pull out. At this stage, it looks very much like there won't be any funding and that we'll be left to our own devices, in which case I would bring back a recommendation to council to vote one way or the other. But it's almost a foregone conclusion that we would withdraw from the Namoi Unlimited because of the cost involved and weighing up the cost as compared to the benefit. And without any funding, I couldn't see the Namoi Unlimited surviving anyway. But anyway, I'll wait until I go to the meeting tomorrow and then report back to council for a decision as to whether or not we remain in Namoi or whether. And it could well be that the other councils pull out anyway. So I will report after that meeting.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. My concern is that this was a compulsory thing for councils. So if they withdraw the funding and we choose to pull out, I'm wondering if we're going to be in breach of those orders. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, I can answer that as well. We don't, there's no penalty, there'll be no penalty applied if we decide to resign. There is a certain amount of time that we have to give notice, but I've discussed that with the General Manager so that if we do decide to resign from Namoi, we would have the resignation in the appropriate time so that we didn't pay the fee next year. Bear in mind that towards the end of the financial year, or the financial year next year, we'd be looking at another 35,000. So the intention would be, if we're to resign, we would resign before we were held under that penalty.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Item 6.1, Executive Services Report for October 2023. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, seconder. Councillor Rowell, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Wynne?
I'd just like to commend our General Manager and our Mayor on all the extra work they do during the month, as well as their own regular work.
Thanks, Councillor Wynne. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.2, Resolution Register Update. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Resolution Register as at the 9th of November 2023, appended at Annexure A, and the Resolution Register for 2022 is appended at Annexure B. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, seconded Councillor Rowell. Did you wish to speak for Councillor Cudmore?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.3, Adoption of Schedule of Ordinary Meetings for 2024. The recommendation that Council 1 adopt the draft schedule of ordinary meetings for 2024 appended at Annexure A, pursuant to section 365 of the Local Government Act 1993 and clause 3.1 of the Code of Meeting Practice. 2, request the General Manager to provide public notice of the time, date and location of each scheduled ordinary meeting to be held in 2024, pursuant to section 9 of the Local Government Act 1993 and clause 3.3 of the Code of Meeting Practice. 3, agree where possible to hold 2 council workshops per month for 2024. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lawson, a seconder. Councillor Wynne, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson? Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.4, Corporate and Community Services Directorate Report for October 2023. A recommendation that Council receive and note the Corporate and Community Services Directorate briefing for October 2023 as detailed in this report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lawson, a seconder. Councillor Cudmore, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson? Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.5, Quarterly Budget Review Statement as at the 30th of September 2023. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the Quarterly Budget Review Statement as appended at Annexure A for the first quarter ending the 30th of September 2023. 2, adopt the revised budget forecast and actual year-to-date results as detailed in this report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, a seconder. Councillor Lawson, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.6, Draft Social Media Policy. Recommendation that Council adopt the draft Liverpool Plain Shire Council Social Media Policy appended at Annexure A. Do I have a mover? Councillor Lawson, a seconder. Councillor Cudmore, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Lawson? Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.7, Statement of Investments for October 2023. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Statement of Investments as of the 31st of October 2023 as appended at Annexure A. Do I have a mover? Councillor Allen, seconded Councillor Wynne. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Allen?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.8, Annual Report for 2022-2023. The recommendation that Council 1 endorse the Annual Report for 2022-23 as appended at Annexure A pursuant to Section 428 of the Local Government Act 1993. 2. Note that the annual report will be submitted to the Minister for Local Government and published to Council's website by the 30th of November 2023 pursuant to Section 428, bracket 5 of the Local Government Act 1993. 3. Note that Council is waiting for the finalisation of the 22-23 audited financial statements. They will be published separately to the annual report 2022-2023 once audit is finalised by the Audit Office of New South Wales. Do I have a mover? Councillor Miles, a second. Councillor Lawson, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say this is a great report. I did notice on page 97 of the report, we missed the word ridge after spring in the towns. And the only other thing I wanted to say was it was quite noticeable reading through the report, all the things we have in our community strategic plan that are subject to funding. So there was quite a lot of little purple dots there, but it's very easy to read and I commend the author. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. That's noted. Sorry, Jim.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you, Councillor Miles, for picking that up. And I think, councillors, you would have got a message from the office today to say that even though Councillor Cohen is an apology for the meeting, he's been very diligent and noted that on page 17 of the annual report, which is page, I think, 108 of the business paper, reflects a figure of 29,969 for the operating result from continuing operations. It's actually a typo. The correct figure is 28,969, which is the correct figure in the financial statements. The financial statements are correct, which is the key one. It was just a typo there, and also Councillor Miles picked up another typo, which we'll correct, so thank you.
Thanks, GM. If there's no one else wishing to speak for, sorry, Councillor Lawson, I missed you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also wanted to say I really liked how this report was set up. It was very clear and easy to read. I just find it a little bit frustrating the way things are timed with the election and then what goes into the operational plan. So when this current council came to council, all of that was pretty much decided. So a lot of what's in this report, some things have changed, priorities have changed. So I think people need to get that mind, read it through and maybe see something that hasn't been completed or has been cancelled. There's other factors involved. But the same thing will happen again next year. So I'm not sure if that's something that can be rectified in some way, but it's, it makes it a little bit confusing as far as we're not actually being involved in the original planning.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Did you wish to speak to that, Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, yes, Councillor Lawson, entirely agree. I think the whole RPNR process, integrated planning and reporting process, while sound, the timing leaves a lot to be desired because the incoming council will inherit whatever this council has deemed in terms of its operational plan. Just also wanted to go back to the point that Councillor Miles made about the number of purple dots and the subject to funding. It's something that Mr. Frost has raised, and I agree with him that we need to change that. we shouldn't be speculative about funding proposals that we're not certain of. What we should be putting in our operational plan is something that we know with confidence we can commit to, because otherwise we're creating a false expectation of the community that we're going to deliver these projects, but we've got no certain funding. So it's a wish list rather than an expectation. So we'll certainly address that next time around, but it's a good pickup, so thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. If there's no one else wishing to speak for or against the motion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.9, local advisory groups. The recommendation that Council 1 receive and note the minutes of the Currabubula Local Advisory Group as appended at Annex A. 2, receive and note the minutes of the Prima Advisory Group as appended at Annex B. Do I have a mover? Councillor Miles, a seconder? Councillor Cudmore, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Wilson?
I just noticed there on the motion, on the motion it's got Currabubula twice.
Sorry.
We just need to
Yeah,
mix that up.
it was meant to be Prima. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion?
Yeah.
If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.10, Infrastructure and Environmental Services Director Report for October 2023. Recommendation that Council receive and note the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Director Report for the month of October 2023. Do I have a movement? Councillor Cudmore, a seconder. Councillor Miles, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
Yeah, just a couple of things, please, Mr. Mayor. Just on the Werris Creek Industrial Precinct, just what is sort of happening at this stage, what we talk about the funding need has been obtained and just the Derek on the project, what are we going to, what's the next process we have to go through? With the toilets at Willow Tree, what is actually happening, the concept design's been completed. We'll talk about doing it now, whether it's going to be next year. There's a few issues about that, I'd just like to know where we're up to there. Yeah, that's all, thank you.
General Manager?
Through you, Mr Mayor. So the Werris Creek Industrial Precinct, we're expecting the final design plans by the end of next week. Once we have those final design plans, we'll then approach Darracon to price that project and close off their contractor involvement from things like May 2022, that sort of timeline. Once we get that price, it will have to come to council for determination and acceptance to issue that tender. So I would expect possibly March next year will be about the time that will come to council, if not a fraction earlier. Yeah, that's right. I just
Sorry, no, how does that happen? So Darracon have been, they've got the contract to do the work, have they? So how does it work? I'm just a bit,
apologies for that. So under the Local Government Act, there's multiple ways we can tender. So how we did that one was we had an expression of interest to get a list of potential contractors that were interested in doing those works. Through that process, we got one submission being Darracon. So then what we do is we invite them to provide a full tender once we have the design done. So they do not have the contract guarantee. If their price is out of the ballpark, then they are not automatically accepted. We need to accept their price, enter into the contract, and things like that. They have no recourse on council if we do not run with them through to the construction. So,
but if we don't go with that price, we go back to the tender process.
that's correct, yes.
So that might be March next year, or further down the track.
Potentially, yes. So regarding the toilets at the Bithia Information Centre, Willow Tree, being a public space with very high loading, it is a design challenge to achieve that within the constraints of the existing site. So we do have a design for the septic tank system in that area that contains 2 septic tanks and it's called a black water tank, so it's a storage tank as well, of about 10,000 litres. So what that does is it allows us to treat about 50% more water than what comes into the site per day, and it gives us about 4 days storage for that. The issues with it is you are still dealing with effluent. So whilst we're going through a advanced waste treatment system that aerates, chlorinates and tries to disinfect it, it is not a perfect disinfection. So there is public health risks associated with treated effluent from a septic tank system that we're still trying to mitigate, minimise where we dispose of it on that site. In terms of timelines, our contractor's due to get back to us this week. I chased them up today to try and confirm a timeline with it. The goal is to get it done prior to the Christmas holidays, but it will be a challenge.
So with the system, so we'll have to pump those out every 4 days. Or is it, it's self-contained? Once we build that facility, there's no more ongoing cost to council per, whatever it's like. The public toilets that we want to set up, the portaloos and stuff, it's an everyday job. But also, once you dig into that site, because it is basically effluent you're digging into it, once we start excavating, does that become an issue as well?
Sorry, I didn't quite explain. So no, we will have the capacity to pump it out from the black water tank should there be a massive spike in use. However, it has been designed to dispose of plus 50-60% of what comes in there. So roughly 1.5 kilolitres of water goes through those systems every single day. It's been designed to deal with about 2.5 kilolitres of water every day, and the absorption beds have been designed to deal with the same every day. The black water tank has 4 days capacity, so that's 10,000 litres. So if there's a huge spike because there's a massive event there and a lot of people use the toilet, it will go into that black water tank to then make its way through the treatment system. If the event lasts a long time, yes, we could pump it out from there, but no, we do not expect we'll have to pump continually from it, but it won't be a maintenance-free solution. There's pumps that will be transferring the effluent around, so that you've got pump failures, you've got aerator failures, like any other septic tank system. And then excavating, yes, that is one of the potential risks that will come across. If when we excavate to put in new absorption trenches, and we could uncover the existing ones, they could have unsuitable material there that needs to be excavated further. That is a construction risk for this process, for this project, and that is something that until we commence, it's really challenging to know whether it's going to be an issue or not.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Callum. Anyone else wishing to speak for about Councillor Lawson?
Sorry, I just have a further question on the Werris Creek industrial precinct access. My understanding is to be early contractor involvement meant that they were designing as we went along, and that's why we had an idea of price, a very close idea of price, and why we had to get more funding. So why is it going to take longer again now for them to finish doing that? Like, shouldn't they already be shouldn't they have a close enough idea of the tender and the design and the cost by now? I mean, if this was May 2022, and we're talking about not until March next year, it just seems like a long time, considering that the whole idea of the early contractor involvement process was so that this was kind of being designed as we went along. The other question I had was, first a comment, there's been a lot of good works done to the Werris Creek swimming pool. It's really good. So I want to commend all the staff that are involved in doing that. It is still leaking, obviously. That water's going over the roads. I'm concerned that, you know, that's damaging the road pavement there. I don't know what can be done in the meantime. But, I would like to know if we have any idea why that's happening, and whether we need to be looking at things like, I know the pool in Crindai was resealed a number of years ago. You can see like the, I don't know what it is, the paint or whatever, on the Werris Creek pool is quite aged. So whether we need to look at doing that in the off season and the cost of that going forward, so that we can stop it leaking, or if we know why it's leaking, look into that. Willow Tree toilets, I sat there at the cafe and observed myself, people turning up in a caravan with children going to the toilets. Maybe in the interim, at the very least, there needs to be bigger signage up that the toilets are closed, so that people at least move on to the next thing without stopping and having to go up there. Is there, so have we got the rec grounds open? Do we have signage on there directing people there? It is a bit of a journey to get to the rec grounds, and a bit confusing, so I don't think that's really probably a great option for people. I'm not sure if we're able to direct them to the service station up the road, or until that can be sorted out. I think we need to nail down a firm timeline for this repair to be done. Not that it matters now, but I just wonder how, you know, the septic system was obviously adequate put in there originally. I don't think it should have happened. Obviously we have to look forward at this point, but I think we need to be really sure too that this system is not going to get overwhelmed, because we don't want to end up at its level with this. Thank you.
Gentlemen,
Through Mr. Mayor, so regarding the Werris Creek design pricing, yes, they have been working through it to this point, and one of the main parts for it is that they can provide some innovations towards how the design works based on their construction skill set. So once they get final construction plans, they will finalise the pricing. Obviously, first meeting in February is pretty early in February, so hence why I suggested the last meeting, so definitely can't come to the December meeting. We don't have one in January. We've got one early in February, so I was just giving myself some margin there. It shouldn't take too long, but I can't commit to say when we will not get to February at this stage. Punyara Street, water across the road, I've been up and had a look at it myself. It's about the same as what it was last year. There is a drain on the eastern side of Punyara Street that doesn't currently have a table drain running into it. So there's a pit on the eastern side of Punyara Street. I'm going to be organising my crew to head up there and dig a drain to stop it going across the road, because I share the same as you do. That water running across the pavement will damage the road. Regarding the pool, we did a lot of work on the shell of the pool this year to try and chase down leaks, and the reason we prioritised that was last year when we attempted to fill it, we got about half full and then we couldn't keep enough water to it. So from that, there's obviously a lot of leaks in the shell. We did a number of repairs last year to try and fix that, and we've done more this year. The expectation, based on what we're seeing, is it's likely it's leaking from the return line, which is underneath the pool shell. So where that leak is exactly is hard to identify, but we believe that's where it's likely coming from. So that's something we'll have to investigate in the off season, whether it's even achievable to fix it, because it's potentially under the shell of the pool. And then regarding the Willow Tree, yes, I understand there are signs that direct people to the rec ground. The rec ground is open as it is normally. If the same volume of people used the recreation ground toilets, we would likely see the same issue pop its head up there. However, it is a bit further out of town. It's not right near a food serving premises, so that would be a marginally lower concern. We have been very diligent in our design because, as you sort of identified, the previous one clearly hasn't managed it, and we don't want to be in the same situation again. So we have been very diligent in our design to make sure we have all the data possible to get the correct system design for this facility.
Thank you.
thanks, Councillor Wilson. No one else wishing to speak for or against the motion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.11, growth management and housing strategy. Recommendation that council place the draft growth management and housing strategy on public exhibition for a 3-month period. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, seconded Councillor Allen. Did you wish to speak, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lawson?
Just to say, thank you for taking the comments that were made back from the process that we had, and, yeah, some of those are incorporated into this, so, yeah, I think that it's a good strategy.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.12, analysis of options for council's crusher. The recommendation that council, in accordance with clause 55, bracketed 3, bracketed I, of the Local Government Act 1993, not undertake a tender for the replacement of a major chassis component of its mobile crusher, as there is a sole importer within Australia, resulting in a lack of competitive tenders. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore. A seconder? Councillor Allen, did you wish to speak with Councillor Cudmore?
Yes, please. So the recommendation says we don't undertake a tender for the replacement of the major, but don't we need the parts? So how does this recommendation allow for you fellas to buy the new part?
GM?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so within the Local Government Act, we do have particular ways to not go to tender for large components. So if there wouldn't be competitive tenders, council can by resolution choose to not follow a full tender process. So how this works is, if this resolution were to pass, what that means is I can approach the sole supplier and purchase it from them without having to go through a public tender process.
Why doesn't it say that?
I was actually going to speak against the motion, so.
Did you wish to speak?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Skeller's just explained it, but I'm similar to Councillor Cudmore that I'm just wondering why that wasn't explained, because the crusher needs to be independent. And if there's only one tender, we've gone through that process, I would have thought Mr. Skeller could have just gone ahead with it. So I think he's explained that he can now do it with the sole tender. So thank you, Mr. Skelly, Mr. Cudmore and Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lawson?
First, I just want to clarify that I think that in this particular case, we're not actually tender involved, it's just we've obtained pricing. This is to say that we're not going to go to tender because it's above 250,000, because there is only one importer. Look, I'm not going to be against the motion, but I do have concerns in that one of the things mentioned at the last meeting when we looked at this was, is there the option to see if an engineering company is able to manufacture a similar part for less money and be a quicker process. We haven't got that option on the table. Yes, there's been one second-hand, one price, and yes, it is more. Not my only concern with this repair and build crusher is that we spend this money and something else critical fails. So that is my concern. However, this is the recommendation of the staff that are familiar with what's going on with this. So, yeah, happy to go ahead and hopefully it sees many more hours of crushing.
Thank you, Councillor. Did you wish to speak to that, GM?
No.
If there's no one else wishing to speak for or against the motion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.13, Karoona and Walhallow Water Softening Option Study. Item 6.13, Karoona and Walhallow Water Softening Option Study. It's noted that Councillor Allen was absent at the room. The recommendation that Council 1 write to the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment advising them that Council does not wish to have the water softening plant installed within the Karoona water supply, or 2, write to the New South Wales Department of Planning and Environment advising them that the Council wishes to proceed through to community consultation and more detailed project planning for the water softening plant within the Karoona water supply. And I wish to move option 1. Do I have a second? Councillor Cudmore. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Knowles, to start.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'm happy with 1 or 2, however, I really believe we should be looking at 1, so I'm speaking against your movement of the motion.
You don't speak.
We didn't have a speaker for, but
You're speaking for the motion?
I'm speaking against the motion.
All right. Okay. Well, have we got someone to speak for the motion? Councillor? Yeah.
I go along with number 1 because apparently there's a lot of empty houses out there at Walhallow, and apparently there's big houses with only 1 person in them. And I've spoken to people out there and they're very concerned that it's empty houses and 4-bedroom homes with just 1 person in them. So why should we put it out there and not the whole community's full?
Councillor Knowles, you're speaking against.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I thought as you'd moved it and you didn't wish to speak to it was okay to go in. So I'll start again. Mr. Mayor, I'm speaking against the motion because we've just spent a lot of money on the water treatment plant for the Werris Creek, which the whole of the council area is paying for. I believe this is an opportunity for us to be able to upgrade the system out there at Karoona. I think by putting it on the other side of the meter is probably not the best option for this council. And I think we've got an opportunity here to place it to the benefit of council. I'm not concerned about whether there's 1 person, 4 person, no people in a house. It could well be that the reason people aren't there is because of the quality of the water. So by doing this, we will be doing a health upgrade basically for the Karoona area or the Walhallow area. I believe we're not a third world country, everybody's entitled to clean water. And I think it's a great opportunity for this council to take this up and try to make the water better. And so I'm actually in favour of 2 because it will involve the community out there where they know what the costs will be, and it will still come back to council for deliberation. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry I've had to speak against it, but that's the reasons why. Thank you.
Councillor Lawson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking for the motion, but I probably do need a little bit of clarification around this. The reason I'm for the motion is that the Karoona water supply, I understand, is the same as every other water supply in our shire, in that it is hard water. We cannot be favouring one small community over another with spending a lot of money on water softening equipment or whatever the price is. It's going to cost us money initially and ongoing. my understanding from the report, it is that it is likely that the DP will continue behind the meter at Well Hollow. So in other words, my understanding of this is that if we say no, Well Hollow will likely receive this anyway, funding from the DPE. The only ones that will miss out is the 17 water users that are at Karuna. And we just cannot justify this sort of outlay and ongoing cost for those 17 water users while we have all the other water users in Greenbrier and other places that are continuing on with this hard water. Unfortunately, it is just something that we have in this region. Maybe it is something that we can address in the future, but right now we can't justify spending that amount of money on one of the small amount of users. And as far as Well Hollow goes, it sounds like the DP will go ahead and soften their water regardless. So I'm for the motion based on that understanding.
Councillor Wynne, you're for or against the motion?
I'm for the motion, but isn't that their own land that they're not governed by our council? Isn't that Aboriginal land? Why can't the Aboriginal Corporation be responsible? You can buy water softeners in the shop. We've had one where we had to use raw water at home. You can buy filter or any little water softener things that do make the water a lot better. So why can't each household with the Aboriginal Corporation buy each person a little water softener? It's only a jug, you put it through a filter. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Wynne. To the best of my knowledge, it's within the Shire, comes under the council. All
So my understanding is not rateable land, and certainly the Well Hollow Aboriginal Corporation are the ones that look after that whole area. So how they would do it internally, that would be up to them.
Thanks, Councillor Wynne. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Coburn.
Yeah, I'm in favour for the motion, since I seconded it, but I think the ratepayers have enough on their plate without an extra burden of extra water costs, across the Shire, so, and the availability of soft water is real for any community, and, basically, if you want to leave the water, put a tank on it, that can be utilised. It doesn't, we're talking about a small community that, probably haven't really complained anymore. So I'm in favour of the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Cudmore. If there's no other speakers for or against the motion, I'll put the motion. Those in favour?
Number one.
Those against? I'll declare that carried, being 4 in favour and 1 against. It was rather dry, normally you have a coat. But you wear green. Thanks, Councillor Allen. Item 6.15, Town Water Supply Stage. Sorry, what did I do? I missed one, did I did too. Thanks, Julian. I just got excited, then went to the next one. Item 6.14, Queepolly Water Project Construction Progress Report. The recommendation that Council receive and note this month's progress of Queepolly Water Project's design and construction phases. Do I have a mover? Councillor Wynne, a seconder. Councillor Cudmore, would you wish to speak to a Councillor Wynne?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 6.15, town water supply status. The recommendation that council receive and note the water supply status report. Do I have a mover?
So I move, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Miles, seconded Councillor Baker. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Lawson?
Just wanted to bring up again that there's continuing reports of really discoloured and really smelly water coming out of Werris Creek. Obviously, we're hoping that once the poly water plant is operational, that will be mitigated. However, in the meantime, I think we really need to be looking more closely at that. I know we've been told in the past it meets standards, but I really don't think any of us here would like to be drinking it or showering in it. It's not like that all the time, so I just would like more information on where the water is bad quality, why it's happening in some houses and not other houses, and what can be done about it. Because my biggest concern is whether or not, once the new treatment plant comes online, whether this goes away. I know it's been said before that, we think it's the blue-green algae, when we treat it, it makes the discoloration correctly to mitigate that. But what I don't understand is why some people have worse water than others, and they come flush the pipes and it goes away. So, yeah, I just think we need to be doing something about that. We've still got, what are we now? We're in November, and we're talking about this project pushing out to February before it comes online. So I just think that you can't just say it's coming. We need to be, saying what to do about it in the meantime.
General Manager?
Yes, I'd like to take that question up because I don't know the technical details about it.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Anyone else wishing, that's noted. You'll see. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.1, Delegates Report, Central Northern Regional Library Annual General Meeting and Board Meeting. The recommendation that Council receive and note the Delegates Report of the Central Northern Regional Library Annual General Meeting and Board Meeting held on the 8th of November 2023 as attended at NHA. Do I have a mover? Councillor Miles, a seconder. Councillor Lawson, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, firstly, my apologies, councillors, for the way the document came out. It was all to do with the landscape and my scanning of some of the Central Northern Regional Library's data. It was on a very long sheet, so I had some issues there trying to get it right. I do have some hard copies. Unfortunately, my printer decided to play up then, and some of that's a little bit blurry. I would like to draw to the attention of the councillors the comparisons between 22 and 23 financial reports. That's in my report. Also, the Prindai and Werris Creek Libraries data. It's quite interesting to see the usage and the stock that's gone in and come out, sort of thing. And the last thing is the last page, which is probably more important to this council, which shows the fees that have been set for this year and 2024. So it came out on the last page in the landscape. It's a very small thing, couldn't read it, but there are copies there, and I just draw your attention to those. And I thank Councillor Wynne for letting me attend that meeting. I brought up with some old friends and made a few new ones. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Notices of motion, questions with notice nil. Item 8. Item 9, confidential matters. Recommendation that council considers the confidential report, bracketed S, listed below in meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 10A, bracketed 2 of the Local Government Act 1993, 9.1, RFP 081/2023, Bridge Creek Road, Girton Street Bridge construction outcome of negotiations. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A, bracketed 2, dash bracketed D, bracketed I of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest as it deals with commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. 9.2 RFT 087/2023, Corindi swimming pool demolition. This matter is considered to be confidential under section 10A, bracketed 2, dash bracketed C of the Local Government Act, and the council is satisfied that discussion of this matter in an open meeting would on balance be contrary to the public interest as it deals with information that would, if disclosed, confer a commercial advantage on a person with whom the council is conducting or proposes to conduct business. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cutler, Councillor Wilson, second Councillor Wilson. Sorry. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. if you would. Councillors. The report on confidential matters. Item 9.1, the council had resolved to award the contract RFP 081-2023 to Bridgetrack Proprietary Limited with the including price of $569,510, excluding GST. This was resolved 6 councillors for, nil against, being 6 councillors for. Item 9.2, RFT 087/2023, Corindi Swimming Pool demolition. The council reject DMX Proprietary Limited tender response, which was the only tender response received by the council as a competitive field was not realised. 2, not invite fresh tenders as it represents an unacceptable delay of the project. 3, in accordance with clause 178(3)(d) of the Local Government Act, General Regulation 2021, enter in negotiation with suitable contractors of the Corindi Swimming Pool. 4, authorise the General Manager to award the contract after the completion of the negotiation process to shorten the overall procurement time. This was resolved 6 councillors for, nil against, being 6 councillors present. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed.